Heaven has paused for a moment. Time itself bends its knee, and eternity leans close to whisper something meant for you, not for the crowd, not for another generation, but for times, this time's hour, asterisk this time's season, asterisk this time's heart. Somewhere between your prayers and your unanswered questions, between what you've lost and what you still believe, there is a mystery moving unseen, yet undeniable. It is not chance. It is not luck. It is not merely hard work or opportunity. It is something deeper, a hidden spiritual force that governs the flow of wealth, the rise and fall of dreams, the open and closed doors of provision. Dr. David Yonggi Cho once said that true prosperity does not begin in the marketplace, but in the invisible realm, where faith speaks and the spirit moves. Listen closely now. This is not a message about money, it is a message about alignment, about how heaven releases what your hands could never earn on their own. The Spirit of God does not measure wealth in coins or contracts, but in the current of obedience, the river of surrender that flows through a yielded heart. There is a rhythm in the kingdom seed, word, faith, and fruit. When a man or woman begins to see beyond the visible, they touch the current that controls the invisible. This is what Dr. Cho discovered, that the spiritual world is more real than the material one, and whoever learns to move with its laws never lacks, never fears, never strives in vain. You have felt the weight of not enough, the burden of waiting, the ache of watching others rise while you remain still. Yet heaven whispers this moment is not punishment, it is preparation. The invisible hand of God has been arranging what your eyes cannot yet see. You have been trying to move things by strength, but the Spirit is saying, asterisk, let me move them by truth. Asterisk, this word comes not to inform you, but to awaken you, to call your spirit into alignment with the hidden current that has always been waiting for your faith to step in. And if you are listening now, it is because heaven itself has chosen this pause in time for you. You've been standing in that in-between space where faith feels like fog and hope feels like hunger. You wake up and move through the motions, but deep inside there's a silence that echoes louder than any noise. You've prayed, you've believed, you've declared the promises. Yet still, the door remains closed. Still, the provision delays. Still, your heart wonders. Asterisk, God, did you forget me? Asterisk, you try to smile through it, but your soul trembles. You hear sermons about blessing and breakthrough, and something inside whispers, asterisk, when will it be my turn? Asterisk, you've sown, but the soil looks dry. You've waited, but heaven feels far. You've obeyed, but the results refuse to appear. It's not that you don't believe you do, but belief has begun to ache. You carry that invisible ache, the one that no one sees when they look at you. The ache of doing everything right and still feeling wrong. The ache of walking in light but standing in shadow. You've told yourself to be strong, to keep smiling, to keep trusting. Yet, in the quiet moments your chest tightens. You stare into the unseen and whisper, asterisk, why? Asterisk, it's the question you never wanted to ask. The one that sounds like doubt, but is really desperation. The question that leaks out between your prayers. Sometimes you wonder if you've missed something, a secret, a step, a sign. You think of others who seem to move effortlessly while you remain still. You question your worth. You replay your past. You wonder if you prayed wrong, believed wrong, gave wrong. You look at your empty hands and think, asterisk, what more can I offer? Asterisk. And somewhere in the tension between your longing and your lack, you begin to grow tired. Tired of holding on, tired of pretending. Tired of the silence that stretches like an endless road. But listen, heaven has not been silent because it forgot. It has been silent because it is working. The stillness is not absence, it is alignment. The waiting is not punishment, it is preparation. What you feel as delay is heaven's careful timing. Every unanswered prayer, every sleepless night, every tear that fell unseen, none of it is wasted. There is a spiritual current beneath your chaos, weaving a pattern you cannot yet trace. What feels like breakdown may, in truth, be divine rearrangement. Dr. Cho once said, "When the visible world seems frozen, it's because the invisible is moving." That's what's happening now. The storm you feel is not your destruction, it's your positioning. God is shifting the foundation beneath you, anchoring you deeper so that what He builds next will not collapse under blessing. You think you are losing, but heaven is exchanging. You think you are waiting, but heaven is preparing. You think you are forgotten, but heaven has been whispering your name in every silent space. Yes, the pain is real. The confusion is real. The silence feels endless. But somewhere in that ache, something holy is forming, something eternal. The storm that shakes you is the same wind that carries your answer. You are not, of course, you are being guided. What you call delay, God calls design. What you call confusion, He calls construction. The threads that feel tangled are weaving a crown of purpose. And when this season breaks open, you will see that every lonely night, every unanswered prayer, every quiet tear was not wasted, it was orchestration. Holy, intentional, divine. Heaven was never silent, only speaking in a language your heart hadn't yet learned to hear. What you called stillness was strategy. What you called delay was design. God has never been idle, never distant, never uncertain. The silence was not an absence but a shaping, a divine architecture forming beneath the surface of your life. While you were wrestling in the dark, heaven was writing a script of precision, placing each event, each encounter, each pause exactly where it needed to be. The unseen hand that seemed still was, in truth, arranging. Every closed door, every unanswered prayer, every detour, none of them were accidents. They were coordinates in a greater plan, leading you not away from destiny but deeper into it. You see, divine timing is not measured in minutes but in maturity. God does not rush what He intends to last forever. While you were counting days, heaven was cultivating depth. The soil of your spirit was being broken, softened, prepared for something that could not be planted until you were ready to sustain it. You thought heaven had forgotten, but it was protecting. You thought you were waiting for provision, but heaven was waiting for alignment. The same hand that withheld was the same hand that now releases. Not because it changed its mind, but because the season finally caught up with the promise. Think of it this way: when this lies buried in darkness, the world above believes nothing is happening. Yet beneath the soil, roots are reaching, cells are dividing, life is awakening. The stillness of the surface hides the movement below. That's what the Spirit has been doing with you. The silence was not death, it was gestation. Heaven was nurturing something within you that could not survive premature exposure. What you called delay was divine incubation. What you called confusion was concealed coordination. The Father never lost sight of you, not even for a moment. There are mysteries that can only be revealed in the language of time, truths that unfold only when your heart has been stretched wide enough to carry them. That is why you had to walk through silence, through surrender, through seasons that stripped away your certainty. Because heaven was not trying to answer your questions, it was trying to transform your perspective. You were looking for blessings. God was building vision. You wanted the outcome. He was shaping the vessel. When your eyes were fixed on what was missing, His gaze was fixed on what was forming. Now, look again. What once felt like chaos begins to resemble a pattern. The places that felt empty now hum with quiet purpose. The disappointments begin to glimmer with hidden mercy. You start to see that every delay carried direction, every silence carried speech, Every loss carried life. Heaven was never withholding, it was weaving. The unseen threads of divine wisdom have been interlacing your story with meaning, purpose, and glory beyond what you could have imagined. So breathe. Rest. The struggle was never proof of abandonment, but of attention. You are being led, not lost. The God who hides does so to reveal in fullness. The wealth you seek in spirit, in purpose, in provision flows not from striving but from surrender. Step back into alignment with the rhythm of heaven. Let the peace of understanding replace the weight of control. What once felt delayed now feels divine. What once felt hidden now shines as holy. Embrace this new vision, the knowing that heaven was never late and that you have been right on time all along. There comes a point in every journey where faith no longer feels like fire, but like breath, slow, steady, unseen. It is here, in this holy tension, that heaven begins to stretch the soul. The answers no longer come quickly, the signs no longer flash in the sky. You find yourself in the stillness between promise and fulfillment, between what you've prayed and what you've yet to see. And it is here that God whispers, wait, not because he delights in delay, but because he is perfecting something that can only mature in silence. The waiting is not punishment, it is invitation. It is the sacred ground where human striving ceases and divine trust begins to bloom. Faith, in this season, does not shout, it breathes. It learns to walk without proof. It learns to rest without resolution. The soul begins to unclench its fists, to surrender its timetable, to let go of control. You start to see that real strength is not in forcing doors open, but in standing still until heaven turns the handle. The waiting becomes worship. The stillness becomes sanctuary. Every moment of silence becomes a reminder that God's presence is not measured by noise, but by nearness. He is closer now than you can comprehend, not outside your delay, but within it, shaping the unseen layers of your destiny. This is the faith that David Yonggi Cho understood, the faith that refuses to measure God's faithfulness by immediate results. It is the kind of faith that holds on to his character when his hand seems still. The kind that knows waiting is not wasted when it is surrendered to divine timing. Heaven operates on rhythm, not rush. There is a pace to providence, and the Spirit teaches us to move in step with it, not ahead, not behind, but in harmony. When you surrender to that rhythm, peace begins to replace anxiety. The need to understand gives way to the desire to trust. You stop asking, when will it happen? And start whispering, God, whenever you will, I am ready. So breathe in this stillness. Let the quiet stretch you. Let patience become your prayer. Every second of waiting is shaping your faith into something stronger, purer, deeper. This is where endurance becomes holy, where trust matures into intimacy. You may not see movement, but something divine is being forged within you. Heaven's delays are not denials. They are the slow, deliberate unfolding of eternal design. The gold of your faith is being refined in this waiting. The weight of your calling is being measured against your readiness to carry it. Don't despise the slowness. Don't rush the sacred work. The same God who spoke worlds into being could answer you in an instant. Yet he chooses to move through process, because process is where you become like him. To wait is not to be forgotten. It is to be chosen for deeper formation. The stillness is not empty. It is full of unseen movement, full of divine whispers, full of eternal purpose. So be still, beloved. Stand on this ground as if it were holy, because it is. Heaven is near. The silence is alive with meaning. The unseen hand is still writing your story. What feels paused is actually poised. What feels withheld is being prepared. Keep your heart steady, your gaze lifted, your spirit yielded. The next breath of revelation is coming, and when it arrives, you will see that this waiting was not wasted time, but sacred preparation for divine explanation. Now heaven begins to reveal its reasoning, not in thunder, but in tenderness. The long silence that once wounded you was not a void, it was a voice, a different kind of language, one that could only be heard by the heart that had learned to wait. What felt like divine distance was, in truth, divine protection. The doors that did not open were never meant to harm you, they were meant to preserve you. The pauses were not punishment but precision, timed with eternal care, so that when you finally arrived, you would be whole enough to hold what you had prayed for. The delay was the classroom where your spirit learned what success could not teach. It was heaven's way of purifying your motives, refining your desires, and anchoring your soul in something unshakable. You see now, the silence was not emptiness, it was instruction. Heaven was teaching you to hear in new frequencies, to sense presence beyond the noise. The waiting stripped away the illusion that you could control outcomes, and in doing so, it freed you from fear. What you thought was God's absence was actually His nearness, hidden so deeply within your struggle that you could not separate your pain from His shaping hand. Every unanswered prayer was an answer in disguise, guiding you away from what would have satisfied your impatience but sabotaged your purpose. Heaven never denied you, it redefined you. It was necessary that you were delayed, for had the blessing come too soon, it would have crushed you under its weight. Had the door opened before your character was deep enough to stand, you might have mistaken opportunity for destiny. God does not build with haste, He builds with holiness. Every moment of waiting was heaven's slow architecture, building faith's foundation beneath your ambition, aligning your desire with divine rhythm. The distance you felt was the distance required for shaping the kind a sculptor keeps between the hammer and the marble, so each strike can form, not fracture. And now, as the night begins to loosen its grip, the first light of understanding rises. You begin to see the pattern, how every disappointment was actually direction, how every loss cleared space for the new, how every delay preserved the purity of what was promised. Heaven was not testing your endurance, it was preparing your eyes to see from another realm. The same silence that once felt like absence now sounds like music, soft, certain, sacred. You begin to realize that nothing was wasted. Every tear watered the soil of tomorrow's abundance. Every waiting hour deepened the roots of your faith until it could hold the weight of fulfillment. The logic of heaven has always been paradox: strength through surrender, gain through loss, victory through waiting. What seemed like delay was design. What seemed like denial was direction. What seemed like the end was the unseen beginning. Heaven's reasoning was never to withhold from you, but to shape you so you could receive without breaking. You were not being slowed down, you were being synchronized with eternity. And now, the atmosphere shifts. Something within you awakens, quiet, calm, inevitable. It feels like dawn breaking, gentle but irreversible. You no longer strive, you simply trust. You no longer fear the waiting, you begin to bless it. Because now you see heaven's timing was never against you, it was always for you. The hidden spiritual force controlling wealth, purpose, and destiny has never failed. And as the light of understanding settles in your spirit, you realize the change you have been waiting for has already begun within you. Transformation is no longer a promise, it is a presence, unfolding softly, right now. It has begun, quietly, almost imperceptibly at first, but undeniably heaven is moving. The air around your spirit feels lighter, the weight begins to lift, and something within you knows the long night is turning. The stillness that once felt endless is now trembling with holy activity. You can sense it not through sight, but through a knowing deeper than words. The season has shifted. What was held back is being released. The hand that once restrained now opens, and the flow begins. Not with noise, not with drama, but with the steady certainty of a sunrise that cannot be stopped. The hidden force that governs the unseen economy of heaven is now aligning all that concerns you. The divine pattern has reached its moment of manifestation. You are stepping into the place prepared through patience. What was once invisible begins to take form. Doors that resisted are now yielding, not because of new strength on your part, but because timing has ripened. What was heavy to push now moves effortlessly, as though the wind itself carries you. The same silence that once tested you has turned into the echo of answered prayers. Provision begins to find its path toward you, guided by the invisible law of divine order. The delays have dissolved, the waiting has finished its work, and the pieces long scattered begin to fit together in perfect sequence. It is not coincidence, it is covenant unfolding. Heaven is fulfilling what it started. You will notice the shift first within you, peace replacing striving, calm replacing confusion. Your spirit, once tense from waiting, begins to rest in divine rhythm. You feel a holy ease settle into your steps. The pressure to make things happen fades, because you know now that heaven is already moving on your behalf. The flow of grace has found you again, quiet but unstoppable. The voice of fear begins to grow faint as faith takes its rightful place. You are no longer pleading for breakthrough. You are walking into it. Every delay that once seemed cruel now stands revealed as strategy. Every closed door now opens in sequence, each one timed to perfection. The morning has come. You can feel the light before you see it. Opportunities appear like dawn rays breaking over the horizon, revealing paths that were hidden in shadow. The spiritual atmosphere around you hums with readiness, angels on assignment, resources shifting, favor gathering in the unseen realm. The wealth that was spiritual now begins to manifest in tangible form: ideas, relationships, open spaces, and unexpected provision. What once was withheld for protection is now released for purpose. It is no longer a promise waiting for its season. The season itself has arrived. And yet, even in this movement, the tone of heaven remains gentle. There is no rush, no noise, only the sacred unfolding of divine fulfillment. It feels like prophecy becoming presence, prayer becoming reality, faith becoming sight. You don't need to chase what's yours. It is being drawn to you by the law of divine alignment. Everything begins to move toward completion, and still, peace remains the atmosphere. You know this is not your doing. It is heaven's design breathing into your moment. Now, the wind of God moves quietly but surely. The tide has turned. The waiting has served its purpose, and the promise is stepping out of the unseen into the seen. Every struggle, every silence, every slow season, all of it was leading here. The alignment is complete. The shift is here. The breakthrough has not come with thunder, but with light, steady, sacred, unstoppable. You are standing in the moment heaven wrote for you before time began, and it is finished. The turning point has arrived. Now, we come to stillness. The movement slows, the light settles, and what once felt like revelation now rests as quiet knowing. The rush of prophecy fades into the hush of presence. You no longer reach forward, you simply breathe, and heaven breathes with you. This is the holy calm that follows divine fulfillment, the peace that proves the promise has already taken root. You don't need to strive, or chase, or question. You simply abide. Every unanswered why dissolves in the warmth of understanding. Every anxious thought bows before the whisper of completion. The journey that began in confusion now ends in communion. You feel it, that gentle assurance that God has done exactly what He intended, exactly when He intended. And now, gratitude begins to rise. Not the loud gratitude of triumph, but the quiet kind, the kind that trembles, the kind that knows it didn't earn this moment. Thank you, Lord, for the waiting that became wisdom, for the silence that became song, for the delay that became design. Thank you for the unseen hands that guided, the invisible currents that carried, the hidden force that turned everything for good. Thank you for teaching us that wealth, true wealth, is not what we hold, but who holds us. You have shown that the greatest treasure is not in the material, but in the mystery of trust. And now the truth settles like dew, asterisk, the hidden spiritual force, controlling wealth times. It was never luck, never labor, never mere opportunity. It was faith, it was surrender. It was alignment with the rhythm of heaven. It was the unseen current of the Spirit, flowing through the hearts that learn to wait. The same force that governs creation has been governing your journey, and now you know you are never out of season, never off path, never unseen. So rest now, let the weight fall away. The striving has served its purpose. The questions have found their answers in peace. Sit quietly in this grace, not as one waiting for something more, but as one who has already received. Let your spirit whisper thanks, and let the silence after your prayer be your final amen. Because in this silence, God is still here. The air hums with His presence. The light is soft, the heart is steady, and the soul is home. Nothing more needs to be said. The truth has spoken. The mystery has revealed itself. The force that once seemed hidden now rests within you, calm, complete, divine, and the silence that remains is holy.